So I remember distinctly through this period right in here. This is basically where the dot-com bubble burst. It wasn't so much here, believe it or not. And right here, of course, this was Y2K. So there were a lot of tech companies that were actually still reporting half decent earnings in Q1 of 2000 because they were just reporting the sales from the Y2K mess because everybody thought computers were not going to work and they had to go buy a new computer in 2000. But what was interesting was all through this period, nobody could really imagine what life was going to be like in this new millennium, 2000. And, there were guys like Prince. It's incredible. Prince is dead now. But he's saying, and I remember the longest time, I'm going to party like it's 1999. And that was always way off in the future. 1999. That's way off in the future. Nobody now, ironically enough, 20 years into the new decade, you guys all laugh at that. But seriously, this is the way people thought. And through the whole sort of dot-com buildup, this whole period here, everybody was like, just borrow money. And, we're not going to worry about profitability until the next century. And then once we actually got into the new century, then this hit the fan. Now, I hope you're all aware that there was a big fat Jupiter-Saturn cross right here. All right, so first and foremost, what did Amazon look like? And I have to hand it to Eddie. Eddie, he's kept eye on this. I think this is a very, very good historical reference. And we'll go like a weekly chart. All right, so there is your dot-com blow up. And interestingly enough, right, if we go this one, and then we put something like BTC, USD, we put Bitcoin over here. Boom. Do you see any similarity? It's pretty shocking. Really? So interestingly enough, we had a peak and then just a slightly higher peak. And Amazon, we had a peak and just a slightly higher peak. So if we think about where we are in this cycle, you can kind of see it almost looks like we're sort of right about there, right? And that makes sense because it was at this point right here that the whole sort of dot-com idea really started to fall apart in earnest. And what you guys have to understand, this is so important that you get this, is even from these levels here, right? Of course, this is on, massive split adjusted, so it wasn't these prices back then. But you have to appreciate that even from here, from these levels here down to the bottom, that was still a 70-80% haircut. So if somebody had come in the summer, fall of 2000 and said, this is the bottom, oh boy, they had a nasty surprise ahead of them, didn't they? I mean, the irony of it all is looking back in hindsight, you can see that this level actually was not a bad level going forward. That is the sort of panic dump low there in October of 2000. And ironically enough, and I often talk about this, what do you think the odds are if we drew this, that this is actually 78.6 off of the whole range? I bet it is. And it looks a little bit lower. It might be 88.6. All right, there's 78.6. There's 88.6. But you can see exactly where you were supposed to be long. So what's scary here is I think we're sort of like right here right now, right in this area, maybe a little bit higher. And I'm just worried that, if we just do like a historical, you are here now, actually, I guess that would be, well, somewhere in this area. I mean, we can go right there. It doesn't really matter. And then do that here. hopefully you're starting to see sort of similarities. Maybe we even move that over a bit. So I'm a little concerned that people have sort of lulled themselves into thinking that the correction is almost over. It's almost, but we still got this to get through, right? And interesting, we talk about Benner cycle. You can kind of see by the time we actually get to 2024, and you can see, right, a 2001 was absolute. And then as we get into 2002, we actually start forming that bottom. And really, you could make the argument coming out of the backside of 2002, you actually had your signal, all is clear, it's time to get back in. So I might make the argument that we still have a little bit more to go on the downside for Bitcoin. And then we start working our way out like Eddie's Amazon. I see a lot of similarities there. And I might also argue too that I really like this little zone right in here. That high there and this low there. I love that zone. So if I was going to say, when do you really want to start, aggressively accumulating, it's when we get down into this sort of, maybe 70.5% or 70.2, the midpoint of let's just say 78.6 to 88.6. We get down into that area, and that's when you have permission to start accumulating in earnest. And I'm perfectly fine with that kind of thinking.